You're listening to the 49 Carats Podcast, a 49ers Goldmine production with Stephanie Sanchez.
What's going on, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the 49 Carats Podcast. I'm your host, Steph, and I gotta be honest with you guys, I feel absolutely terrible today. I feel like shit. But Michael Jordan had his flu game. I have this podcast, so we're still gonna rock it out today and gonna have a good show. And today I'm gonna be previewing the 49ers offense against the Bears defense. And before we do that, though, like I mentioned yesterday, we have our segments this week in 49ers history. Let's get to it. The 49ers in September 6th, 1994, Garrison Hurst, he scored a 96-yard touchdown to beat the Jets in overtime. The 49ers won 36-30. And then September 7th, 2014, 49er fans invaded Jerry's World. Cowboys Stadium literally looked like 90% of the stadium was 49er fans. It was absolutely amazing. And the Colin Kaepernick-led 49ers won that game 28-17. You guys remember either one of those events? Happened like 10 years not 10 years apart. 20 years apart, right? Am I doing math right? No, 10 years apart. I'm sure. No, that is 20. Oh my God. My math skills are showing, which means they're not very good. But yeah, 20 years apart, the Garrison Hurst 96-yard touchdown to beat the Jets in overtime, and the 49ers invasion at Cowboys Stadium in 2014. Let's move on here to some 49ers news. All right, so the 49ers, they finally announced the 6 captains for this season. They have Trent Williams, George Kittle, Nick Bosa, Eric Armstead, Jimmy Ward, and Fred Warner. I know what you're thinking. You're probably like, well, where's Trey Lance? Let me tell you, Trey Lance was voted 7th. Okay, so Kyle Shanahan looked at the list. He said, he saw Trey Lance was 7th. He was like, you know what? Let's keep 6. I don't know. That's just a joke that I think, that was his thought process. He probably wants Trey Lance to earn, being a captain. And 6, not so bad of a number. So Kyle Shanahan said he didn't want to have 7, or he didn't want to have too many captains. So he decided to go with 6. But I think partially it was because he saw Trey Lance was 7th, wants Trey Lance to earn, the title of captain. And so next year certainly is still on the table. But what do you guys think about Trey Lance not being a captain? Does it bother you at all? I don't think it's a big deal personally, but I know some people think it's an indication of something. But you guys tell me what you think. Let's see. All right, let's check out some of these comments really quickly. Oh yeah, sorry for the delay on this live, by the way. I kept changing the time. But I wanted to get everything prepared, make sure we're good to go. Mariah says, hit that like button, faithful, and show Steph some love. Totally agree. Thank you, Mariah. You guys killed it on the last 2 videos. We got 35 likes on both videos. We hit our like goal. So let's try to one-up ourselves. I believe in us. I know that we can do it. Let's try to get 40 likes on this video. Let's go. 40 likes. That's a new like goal. And I appreciate you guys so much. Appreciate you guys being on here. And really quickly, have you guys entered the contest or the giveaway for the Debo Samuel jersey? Appreciate it, Shot J. Yeah, because if you have not joined the giveaway yet, I suggest you do. If you're subscribed to the channel, that's already the first step of entering. And then you have to send me a screenshot, preferably on Twitter, send me a screenshot showing me that you are subscribed. And then there you go. You're entered for this giveaway for the Debo Samuel jersey. Not just a Debo Samuel jersey, it's a Debo Samuel signed jersey. So even better. And if you guys are watching this live and you already are entered, you can get an extra entry just by these live comments, in the live comments, putting your Twitter in the comments. So if you're watching this after it's live, it's not going to count. Okay. Only you guys who are watching it live can get those extra entries. So make sure you let me know your Twitter handle in the comments, and I'll get you those extra entries, get you an extra chance to try to win that Debo Samuel signed jersey. Dawson says, my first thought seeing the captain list was, where is Juice? Yeah, good question. I mean, I know a lot of people were a little surprised that Juice wasn't on there. There's so many leaders and like exemplary players on this 49ers team that you can make a case for a lot of guys, right? And so, with 49ers only keeping 6 captains, I think there's going to be some snubs here and there. Debo Samuel, he was voted 8th. So even him, you could have potentially made a case for him to be one of the captains, and he didn't even make the cut. So yeah, I have to wonder where Juice was in the voting rankings. I don't know. We didn't hear about that, but yeah, good point. Shot J says, I'm trying to imagine Bosa as a captain without putting his teammates to sleep with his calm demeanor. Playing around aside, I'm psyched to see his leadership. Yeah, he's very soft spoken, someone who doesn't really, do a lot of talking, it seems like. So interesting choice, right? To have Nick Bosa as a captain. But at the same time, I think it goes in hand with his work ethic. I mean, we all seen how incredibly ripped he looks this year, more so than he has in the past. So that guy like works on his body. He works on his craft. And I think that's something that is a great example for everyone else on the team, right? So yeah, Nick Bosa getting to be a captain for the first time with the 49ers. Yes, but Shot J says it's not a big deal at all that Trey Lance is not one of the captains. 49ers Lakers for life agrees that it's not a big deal. Jason also said it's not a big deal since Jimmy isn't a captain. Yeah, it would have been very weird if Jimmy was a captain, right? Especially because he literally just rejoined the team like last week or so. So that would have been interesting. Yeah, Patrick, thank you so much. And I saw your comment yesterday as well. So I appreciate you. You have extra entries. Thank you, Shot J. You guys are awesome. Yeah, Patrick says six captain spots and 10 plus candidates. That's a great problem to have. Exactly. Like I said, you can make a case for a lot of guys on this roster, and there's only 6 spots that Kyle Shanahan wanted to have. So I agree. I think it's a great problem for the team to have. And, even though they're not captains, there are other leaders on this team. The John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan mentioned this like leadership committee that they have. And that has, I think they said 15 players, which I don't know who's in it, but I'd imagine some of these captains are in it. And yeah, 15 players. That's a pretty good list to have, considering like your roster's 53 players and, good chunk of leadership there. Jason says, I think Juice doesn't want to be a captain because there's no way they don't vote for him. Yeah, I mean, but, to the point that we made earlier, it's just like there's so many choices. And so, yeah, I'm not sure where he ranked, but definitely not in the top 6, clearly. So let's talk about the 49ers offense against this Bears defense, right? Yesterday, we previewed the 49ers defense against the Bears offense. Today, we are going to do the opposite. Oh, actually, I'm not done with 49ers news. Sorry about that. More news. This one is not great news. George Kittle, he's not practicing today. He has a groin issue. Kyle Shanahan said they don't know about the severity quite yet, but as of right now, he is day-to-day. and his availability for Sunday is now in question. That's not good. You definitely want George Kittle out there, especially in week 1. I mean, yeah, they could maybe beat the Bears without George Kittle, but not great to, already potentially be missing a game, before the season even starts. But we'll see what happens there. Hopefully Kittle is good to go by Sunday, but I'll keep you guys posted. Also, who wasn't practicing was Daniel Brunskill with his hamstring injury he's been dealing with, and Dre Greenlaw. We found out he's dealing with an elbow injury. I saw someone say that Greenlaw is not practicing today, and I saw another reporter say that Greenlaw was going to be limited. So I'm not sure what the case is with Dre Greenlaw, but as of right now, it doesn't. I wouldn't feel like Dre Greenlaw, his availability for Sunday is in question. I think, as of right now, he's still going to be out there. Another bit of news, somewhat 49ers news, right? Emmanuel Sanders, former wide receiver for the 49ers for a very short period of time, right? But we all know that it was a great period of time to be a 49er fan when Emmanuel Sanders was on the team. Really good memories with Sanders on this team. And the reason I wanted to bring it up is because I think another reason why I think of his time in San Francisco so fondly is because I really do feel like he had such a large and positive impact on Debo Samuel and Kendrick Bourne, those two guys being, really young receivers at that time. And, I feel like Emmanuel Sanders helped set the tone and set a standard for, Samuel and Bourne, to be professionals, but also, have fun with it, just how they should carry themselves as receivers. So really, really invaluable, Sanders' contributions to the 49ers just in that short amount of time that he was on the team. And I know there was someone earlier who mentioned, they don't make it to Miami, the Super Bowl, without Emmanuel Sanders. And I 100% agree with that as well. Jason says yesterday Greenlaw was in the non-contact jersey. Yep, exactly. So I didn't know why he was yesterday, but now we know it's the elbow. So hopefully he is good to go. I would imagine because he did practice yesterday, but it was in the no contact, that he is simply going to be limited today. So we'll see. Patrick says Sanders wasn't here for a long time, but he sure was here for a good time. Yeah, absolutely. Just a really great receiver. I'm glad the 49ers had him for any amount of time. Definitely made his presence felt here in San Francisco. So best of luck to Emmanuel Sanders in retirement. And maybe it sounds like we might see him on TV soon, right? Like maybe he's going to do broadcasting, or not broadcasting, but maybe be part of some pregame, postgame kind of thing. I don't know. We'll see. But excited for Emmanuel Sanders' next step in his, life career. All right, let's talk about this 49ers offense, right? Going against the Bears defense. First, let's talk about the trenches. Let's talk about the 49ers offensive line. The 49ers, the Bears defensive line in week 8, first of all, because there's some changes from week 8 last year to now. And just realized I don't have there we go. Okay. So week 8, it was Robert Quinn, outside linebacker, Bilal Nichols, Eddie Goldman at nose tackle, Akeem Hicks at defensive tackle, and outside linebacker Travis Gibson. That was in last season, week 8. All right, that's who started. Now, the projected starters for the Bears defensive line in week 1, Robert Quinn, so no changes there. But then we have Justin Jones, Angelo Blackson, and Al-Quadin Muhammad. So a lot of new faces on this Bears defensive line. So that's something to consider when you want to compare what, the offense might look like, compared to, week 8, because it's going to be a completely different defensive line pretty much for the Bears. Robert Quinn is, the staple of that defensive line. And he's going to be seeing a lot of Trent Williams. And the 49ers have a lot of new faces on their offensive line, right? Trent Williams is the 49ers staple on the offensive line. But last season, week 8, they had Trent Williams at left tackle, like I mentioned, always there. Left guard, Tomlinson, center, Alex Mack, right guard, Daniel Brunskill, and right tackle, Mike Mcglinchey. This season, week 1, projected starters, Trent Williams, left guard, Aaron Banks, so new starter right there. Center, Jake Brendel, new starter. Right guard, Spencer Burford, new starter, and he's a rookie. And right tackle, Mike Mcglinchey. Though we don't know what Mike Mcglinchey is going to be looking like out there. We hope that he's just as effective as he was before, but I know, that's a lofty expectation, I think, all things considered. But let's talk about the matchup between Trent Williams and Robert Quinn. In week 8, and shout out to Jordan for posting this on Twitter, a couple hours ago. Robert Quinn had just one pressure versus Trent Williams in that week 8 game. The 49ers played against the Bears. And Robert Quinn's a really good outside linebacker. And so to just only have the one pressure is, obviously speaks volumes on Trent Williams. We know how good he is. But it also, because that's one of the matchups that is going to be the same from week 8 to, this season, week 1, we can assume we have something to work with, right? We can assume that maybe it might go the same way for Robert Quinn. I think Trent Williams is going to lock him down again. And that's good for the 49ers, offensive line and their hopes of trying to run the football, their hopes of keeping Trey Lance upright in this game. Aaron Banks and Jake Brendel, probably going to see a lot of Justin Jones in this game. Jones played with the Chargers last season. He had a 57.9 overall grade last season on PFF. And let's see, I think I might still have his numbers up. Let me take a look. I just got to look it up. Justin Jones. Sorry for the audio listeners. We are screen sharing. Oh man, that's bad lighting right there. Okay, one second. Share my tab. Here we go. So, you can see Justin Jones for the Chargers last season. This is what these are what his numbers pretty much looked like. He had a really good game against Cincinnati, but for the most part, just average. And overall grade, as I mentioned, was 57.9 for the season. And 55.2 in run defense, pass rush 61.1, tackling 34.2. That could bode well for the 49ers if now look, I also want to point out the fact that you look at the rest of these numbers here. His tackling in 2021 was atrocious, but 2020 he was 77.9 grade on tackling. So huge difference. What Justin Jones are we going to get week 1? I don't know. So he was really bad at tackling last season, but really good the season before. So it could go either way. I feel like 49ers, of course, hope that for Justin Jones, he's going to struggle once again. But we'll just have to look and see. But right now, I feel good about the running game, having some success here with going against some of these guys. And that's a good thing because this offensive line is one of the things that we're somewhat worried about, right? Like it's one of the concerns that we have this season. A lot of new faces, right? It's going to take some time to get that, build that cohesion, build that chemistry, and because that's really when things get going with the offensive line. So it's not going to look pretty right off the bat week 1, but an easier matchup, whether that be individual or as a unit, bodes well for the 49ers. But we'll see what version of the offense the 49ers bring in week 1, right? They got to be on their A game, right? As always. Spencer Burford and Jake Brendel, they're going to see a lot of Angelo Blackson. Angelo Blackson, he had a 43.2 PFF grade in week 8 because he played with the Bears last season as well. Played in week 8, but he only played 13 snaps in that game against the 49ers. But in those 13 snaps, he had a 43.2 PFF grade. So make of that what you will. But I also like that that matchup as of right now. Spencer Burford. Burford's been solid. I mean, if you guys watched the All 22 video that I posted of Spencer Burford, you'll see why the 49ers like him. You will see why he's a starter as a rookie. He looks solid out there. So I feel good about that matchup. Burford, seeing Angelo Blackson and Jake Brendel, he'll have to hold his own as well. But as of right now, I'm not too scared of Angelo Blackson. I don't know. Mike Mcglinchey, though. Mike Mcglinchey, somewhat worried on, like I mentioned, because I just don't know what version of Mike Mcglinchey we're going to be getting in this game. He's going to see a lot of Al-Quadin Muhammad, and Muhammad played with the Colts last season. The 49ers played the Colts last season. So in week 7, Muhammad he played 47 snaps and he had a 60.5 overall PFF grade. He had a strong 73 pass rush grade though. So 60, that's okay, but he had a good pass rush grade. And so that would bode well for him in this game. And another reason why I'm, a little worried about that matchup for Mcglinchey, there's some potential for some problems there. And I'm hoping not, right? But there's potential. And just really quickly to point out the fact that George Kittle might not be out there. He might not have extra help. I mean, Charlie Warner is probably going to play if George Kittle does not. But still, I'm a little worried about Mcglinchey. And hopefully, though, it could be a good game for this offensive line. I know that's one of the things we're all kind of afraid of, though, with this group. We're just a little unsure what they're going to look like out there. But anything can happen. Anything can happen. Let's talk about the running backs. Elijah Mitchell. He had an amazing game against the Bears in week 8. 137 yards rushing on 18 carries. It's good for a 7.6 yards per carry average. Check this out. I tweeted this right before this. 137 yards rushing, right? Get this. 135 of those came after contact. Do you know how ridiculous that is? That is crazy. That's unheard of. 137 yards and 135 of those came after contact. That's absolutely wild. So, speaking of wild, Elijah Mitchell ran wild against the Bears in week 8 of last season. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that we see a repeat performance, but it doesn't hurt, right? We know what Elijah Mitchell can do. As I mentioned, he is a tough runner where he could get those yards after contact, as shown with that crazy stat there. But I feel good about Elijah Mitchell having a good game again in this one. But at the same time, I expect that the Bears are going to want to key in on defending Elijah Mitchell. They're probably going to have a better, game plan around defending Elijah Mitchell, because a lot of teams know that with Trey Lance, and honestly, it's not even a Trey Lance thing. This is just a Kyle Shanahan thing. They like to run the ball, the 49ers. All teams know this. Now, all teams have always known this, but that doesn't necessarily mean that a team is going to be able to stop the run game because it's Kyle Shanahan. He can scheme up a pretty good game for his guys. But again, as I mentioned, I expect the Bears to have a good plan in place for Elijah Mitchell. That being said, I don't know if it's going to make that big of a difference, but it's very important for the offensive line to have a good game when it comes to the run blocking, because the forecast for this game on Sunday, it also looks like it's going to rain. It's a good chance of it. So we'll keep an eye on that. I mean, weather can change. It's only Wednesday, right? So there's potential that the weather could change and maybe it doesn't rain. But if it does, it would just give that much importance to the 49ers having success in the run game in this game. So the questions that I have about, the running backs is what, like, we kind of have yet to see what kind of roles the other running backs are going to have on this team. Elijah Mitchell, we know he's the RB1, right? He's going to get the bulk of the carries. But what is Jeff Wilson Jr.'s role on this team? Now with Anthony Lynn and some of the other additions, Ty Davis Price, like, is he going to get some run in this game? Jordan Mason probably is going to be inactive for this one, but the 49ers like to keep 3 running backs active on game day. So I would assume that it'd be Elijah Mitchell, Jeff Wilson Jr., and Ty Davis Price. So do we see any Ty Davis Price, or is he kind of just like that backup that plays, if someone gets hurt, just like an emergency, option? I don't know, but I expect Jeff Wilson Jr. to have, some opportunities in this game. I just don't know at what capacity. I kind of expect him to be more of a pass catcher, have that kind of role, and he's a really good receiving back. So I kind of feel like that would be a good role for him to have, but we'll see, right? Like that, this is the allure of week 1. Like I mentioned yesterday, there's a lot of unknowns and, a lot of curiosity as to, what guys are going to look like, what roles they're going to have, and things like that. Debo Samuel, for example, in week 8, I don't think Debo had any carries in week 8 again in that Bears matchup. But as we know, shortly after that, like, his rushing kind of took off, right? His wide back role. So do we expect Debo Samuel to play a big part in the run game as well? I do. I think that he'll probably have a few carries, anywhere from, 1 to 3 carries, I think, is possible for Debo Samuel. And you have to consider as well Trey Lance. I mean, he can be part of the run game too. I know that Trey Lance is more of a pass first kind of guy, but there's going to be some scrambling maybe here and there. And that, is just another element to this run game, planned or not, you know what I mean? So I think it's going to be a good, strong game for the run game. Obviously, the 49ers are looking to, assert their dominance as always with, their running back group. So again, going to be really important for the offensive line to uphold, their side of that bargain and make sure that the run game runs smoothly. So let's talk about the Bears linebackers. So they have Roquan Smith, Nicholas Morrow, and Matthew Adams. As I mentioned, George Kittle, he might not play in this game. Interesting enough, he didn't play in week 8 last season either. So I guess we have an idea of what it would look like if Kittle doesn't play, because Charlie Warner played in week 8 in Kittle's place. Warner is still listed as the immediate backup to George Kittle on the latest depth chart that the 49ers released. So I would imagine if Kittle doesn't play, Charlie Warner is going to be the starter. And Warner in week 8, he was targeted once. No, sorry. He had 1 reception for 7 yards and was targeted twice. So it was a pretty not really involved, right? Charlie Warner. And that's I don't blame him, I guess. I don't really expect big games from Warner. He's not George Kittle. But yeah, I mean, obviously there's going to be a drop off in production, both from a blocking standpoint and receiving standpoint. And I imagine how the Bears would defend Kittle would be different than them defending Warner. Maybe they'd put a little more attention to defending Kittle, right, instead of Warner. But yeah, I mean, I really want George Kittle to play, man. Not good. It wouldn't be ideal, obviously, for Kittle to not be out there. Because yeah, like I mentioned, if it's Warner, you're not expecting a big game out of the tight end group. So, yeah. Again, if this is going to be a run-heavy game, the run blocking kind of important. So George Kittle not being out there is another blow to that as well. And this linebacker group for the Bears is pretty solid. Roquan Smith is a really good linebacker. So the 49ers have their work cut out for them there. Let's talk about the Bears corners going against the 49ers wide receivers. So in week 8, their corners were Jalen Johnson and Kindle Vildor. Now it is projected to be Jalen Johnson and Kyler Gordon. Kyler Gordon is a rookie for the Bears, okay? Jalen Johnson in week 8, he was targeted 4 times. He allowed 2 receptions for just 22 yards. Solid corner, okay? So Debo Samuel in week 8, however, he had 171 receiving yards on 6 receptions. The most memorable one was a touchdown off the screen pass. And people think about Debo Samuel's performance against the Bears last season as what really kind of catapulted the 49ers season into it being what it ended up being, right? They don't make the playoffs if they lose that game. And Debo Samuel pretty much put the 49ers on his back. Credit to Jimmy Garoppolo as well, who played a solid game in that one. But yeah, Debo, 171 receiving yards, had a great game. And so obviously Debo Samuel, even as a receiver, I know there's this notion that Debo Samuel is not as good of a receiver as a, running back, right? But he's still a really good receiver. Don't get it twisted. He put up 171 yards on the Bears. So that was all on receiving. So I expect Samuel to have another good game in this one. And we'll see how the rookie Kyler Gordon does in this one. Obviously, I always mention this. If a team is starting a rookie, more often than not, it's because they have a lot of confidence in that guy. And that guy has shown that, he deserves to be starting, right? So I imagine the Bears feel good about Kyler Gordon, but he has a tough test with Debo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk coming to town. And those guys can, line up on either side, Debo and Ayuk. So both Jalen Johnson and Kyler Gordon are going to see their fair share of both Samuel and Ayuk. And based on the things that we've been hearing on Brandon Ayuk and the things that I saw in training camp, and the hype is real on Brandon Ayuk, okay? I would love for Brandon Ayuk to line up across Kyler Gordon, Bears rookie corner. And I think that's going to be the 49ers might find some success there because Trey Lance and Ayuk have some really good chemistry, and Brandon Ayuk he knows how to get open. He has a knack for it. And not just that, even if he's not open, his wingspan and his catch radius is crazy. And Trey Lance, you can tell that Trey Lance has a really good idea for Ayuk's, catch radius and what he is able to kind of get up and get. There was a lot of high pointers in training camp between those two. And so even if Ayuk looks covered, Trey Lance just gotta put it up there, and Ayuk is gonna go get it. So I feel good about this matchup with the 49ers wide receivers. I said, like I mentioned, Jalen Johnson, he's solid. He only allowed the 2 receptions for 22 yards in week 8 last season. But I think there is potential for Kyler Gordon to, open some things up for the 49ers. And especially with Brandon Ayuk taking another step this season, which we would assume that, he's about to do that. So let's talk about the Bears safeties, because, if Kyler Gordon gets burned, these safeties are going to be in there to potentially help. So in week 8, they had Tashawn Gibson, who is now, he's not a 49er right now, right? Wait, did he make the practice squad? I think he made the practice squad. Yeah, I think he made the practice squad. I can't remember off the top of my head, but so Gibson, he started in week 8 for the Bears at safety, and then Eddie Jackson started, but he only played 2 snaps because I think he got hurt in that one. So it was DeAndre Houston Carson and Teez Tabor, who played, the most of the game at safety after Eddie Jackson went out. Eddie Jackson, he had a 59 overall PFF grade for the season last year. And I only say that because he is one of the projected starters for the Bears this year, right? So it's relevant, even though the 49ers only saw him for 2 snaps in week 8. They're going to see a lot of him in this game. And they're going to see Jaquan Brisker, rookie safety, for the Bears. He was one of my huge draft crushes. So it kind of hurts seeing Brisker, right off the bat in week 1. And he's starting for the Bears. So congrats to him. But for our sake, I hope that he doesn't have a really good game. But he's a really solid player. So I think that I think he probably has a good game, but like I said, I hope he doesn't. So yeah, those are the safeties, Eddie Jackson and Jaquan Brisker for the Bears. So 2 rookies on the back end with Brisker and Kyler Gordon at corner. So we'll see how that goes for the Bears. Let me check in on some of these comments really quickly. What's going on, Ty? Yes, background looks nice. I appreciate it. Yeah, I didn't talk about the background yesterday, but this is my new streaming corner. I finally put some things up on the wall. And I'll just continue building on this, right? You guys like my old California license plate? It says, "Oh, it's lit." Yeah, I miss it, so I had to put it up on the wall. I miss riding around with that, but hey, Niner by Nature 88 says, Debo that like button. He said, sack that like button. I love it. Love that energy. You guys, we're trying to get to 40 likes on this video, so I need each and every one of you watching to give this a thumbs up and show some love. Appreciate you guys. Yeah, Ty says all games are run heavy. It's the system. Exactly. That's just the Kyle Shanahan way. But even more so, I think it'll be more of a run heavy game plan, just because it's Trey Lance's not first game starting, but like first season where he's the starter, his first game in that season. So you kind of want to ease him into it. So you want to run a little bit more maybe. And then also the fact that it's going to rain. So I would expect, like I said, it's always a plan to run a lot with this team, but I think even more so than usual. Jason says Lance is also going to help the run game, so the backs should do well. Yeah, I mean, just the threat of Trey Lance running, is going to open things up. And, while we're on the topic, let's talk about Trey Lance and what I expect in this game. It's hard to predict what Trey Lance is going to look like, right? Because as of right now, we have such small sample sizes of Trey Lance and not many games under his belt, right? So I expect the Bears to try to show Lance different looks, try to confuse him, just knowing the fact that he's a young quarterback who doesn't have a lot of snaps, doesn't have a lot of experience under his belt. I think they're going to try to, do some things and make him second guess. They might do some things, pre-snap, and then, after they come out and do a different type of coverage. So they're going to try to confuse him. But like I said, I also expect the 49ers to run a lot in this game. So hoping that, that isn't a huge thing in this game and it doesn't have a huge impact. That is the Bears, trying to confuse him. No Kittle is going to hurt if he doesn't play. But I do have a lot of faith in Elijah Mitchell. And if the run game is going, it is going to open things up for Trey Lance, in the passing game as well. And like Jason said, it's going to open things up, just him being a threat to run the ball himself. So yeah, I expect the run game to be strong in this one. And who knows, the 49ers could do a lot of things that they didn't show throughout the preseason, right? Like we can assume that the preseason is very vanilla. Kyle Shanahan doesn't like to show his hand. And why would you, especially when you're dealing with a new quarterback who the Bears don't have a lot of film on Trey Lance, barely. I didn't mean that to be a pun, but kind of came out that way. But yeah, Trey Lance, it's possible that Kyle Shanahan has some tricks up his sleeve, some things that, maybe they've been working on this offseason that they haven't shown, in camp or the preseason. So the Bears kind of are at somewhat of a disadvantage there as well because they don't really have a lot to prepare off of, right? So that is a advantage that Trey Lance has. Now, Trey Lance's success in this game will be, in my opinion, it's going to be largely dependent on how the offensive line performs. Now, I do feel that Trey Lance does a really good job of, when he is able to, he can escape the pocket, and he's good at finding his rushing lanes and things like that to escape and scramble and make plays with his legs, and still, looking to throw. He can, make those off-schedule plays. But yeah, so I feel pretty good about Trey Lance in this game as long as the offensive line holds up to an extent. I don't expect it to be perfect for the offensive line. I mean, like I said, they're going to need some time to really gel and get going, but I think Trey Lance is going to do a good job of, keeping plays alive, just being able to, if he can't hang in the pocket, he's going to, escape and try to make something happen. So that I overall feel good about the offense in this game. George Kittle potentially being out hurts, but the run game should be, pretty successful in this game. Elijah Mitchell has looked good throughout training camp, and I expect him to look good in this game, just like he did in week 8 against the Bears last season. So, yeah, what's going on, Lake City Fresh? Appreciate it. All right, guys. That's pretty much it for my offense recap or my preview for this game. Let me know in the comments what you guys think Trey Lance's stat line will be for this game. Do you guys think he's going to, run the ball a lot? Do you think I saw there's I think it was Underdog Fantasy. It was like the over-under was like 34 yards or some shit. So do you think Trey Lance gets more or less than that in this game? Let me know in the comments. I'm very curious, but appreciate you guys coming on today. I really try to make it through this one without feeling like shit. I still feel like shit, but I mean, I just appreciate you guys coming on and hanging in there with me. If you guys have not, like I mentioned, we have the giveaway going for Debo Samuel. So very quickly, let me just share. Whoa. Let me just share this one more time. So if you have not subscribed to the channel, I suggest that you do right now because we are doing this giveaway for the Debo Samuel signed jersey. You have to subscribe to be entered to win, okay? So make sure you enter and make sure on Twitter you send me a screenshot showing me that you are subscribed. And if you want a chance for extra entries, retweet the giveaway tweet on my Twitter. It's pinned to my account. And drop your Twitter in the comments right now during the live stream, and you get another entry as well. So that's all for today, folks. I appreciate you guys coming on, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow for a call-in episode. And actually, tonight I am filming I'm filming with a Bears podcaster, and I'm gonna have him on the channel. That's gonna preview tomorrow though, so not going to have that one live. It'll be pre-recorded. But anyway, appreciate you guys. Have a good rest of your evening, and peace.